AITA for refusing to pay my mom's medical bills after she gave away my college fund. I never thought I'd find myself in this situation, but here we are. I 28M have been dealing with a lot of guilt lately over something that happened with my mom 55F. My family keeps telling me I'm in the wrong, but I honestly don't know anymore. Let me explain. When I was a kid, my mom always talked about how important education was. She wasn't able to go to college herself because she had me young and money was tight, but she always said she wanted me to have a better future. My dad wasn't really in the picture. He left when I was 3, so it was just the two of us. Mom worked multiple jobs to make ends meet, and she was always really proud of the fact that she was saving money for my college fund. I remember her saying things like, "One day, you're going to do great things, and I want to help you get there." It made me feel like all her sacrifices were worth it, and I promised myself I wouldn't let her down. By the time I was a senior in high school, my mom had managed to save about $20,000 in a college fund for me. It wasn't enough to cover everything, but it would have been a huge help. I was over the moon, especially since I'd gotten into my dream school. I had scholarships that would cover part of my tuition, and the college fund would have taken care of most of the rest. I thought everything was falling into place, but then, out of nowhere, my mom sat me down one evening and told me the money was gone. At first, I didn't understand. I thought maybe she'd been scammed or had some kind of emergency expense. But no, she'd given the money to my cousin, Jake, to for him. Jake had been in and out of trouble for years, and apparently, he'd gotten into some kind of legal trouble again and needed money for a lawyer. My Aunt Jake's mom had convinced my mom to give her the money, saying it was a family emergency. I was devastated. I couldn't believe she would do that to me after all the sacrifices she'd made to save that money. When I asked her why she didn't tell me before giving it away, she just said, "Jake needed it more than you did. You're smart, you'll figure something out." Her words crushed me. I felt like all my hard work and her promises had been for nothing. I ended up taking out loans to pay for college. It wasn't my dream school. I couldn't afford it without the fund, but I made it work. I graduated with over $40,000 in student debt and spent most of my 20s paying it off. It wasn't easy, but I was proud of myself for getting through it. Over the years, my relationship with my mom became strained. I tried to move past what happened, but every time I saw her being kind or generous to other family members, it brought up old resentment. I couldn't shake the feeling that she valued everyone else over me. Now, here's where things get messy. A few months ago, my mom was diagnosed with a serious medical condition. She doesn't have insurance, and the treatments are expensive, over $30,000 in total. My family knows I've been doing well financially lately. I recently got a big promotion and paid off my student loans, so they've been pressuring me to help cover the costs. I said no. I know that sounds cold, but I can't help feeling like I'm being asked to clean up another mess that isn't mine. My mom gave away my future for someone else, and now she expects me to sacrifice my financial stability for her. I told my family that I'm willing to help in other ways, like taking her to appointments or helping her apply for assistance programs, but I can't afford to wipe out my savings for her medical bills. My mom was heartbroken when I told her. She said she thought I'd forgiven her for what happened with the college fund and that she's always done her best for me. My Aunt Jake's mom even had the audacity to call me and say I was being selfish for letting my mom struggle when I could easily help. The thing is, I could help, but a big part of me doesn't want to. I keep thinking about all those nights I stayed up stressing about how I'd pay my tuition, while Jake was out of jail thanks to my mom's sacrifice. Why should I be the one to bail her out now? My family is completely against me on this. They say I'm being cruel and ungrateful after everything my mom has done for me. They point out that she worked hard to provide for me growing up and that this is my chance to show her I appreciate her sacrifices. But I don't think they understand how deep the betrayal over the college fund runs. It's not just about the money, it's about how she made me feel like I didn't matter as much as Jake did. I feel torn. I don't want to see my mom suffer, but I also can't ignore how much her actions hurt me. So, Reddit. AITA for refusing to pay my mom's medical bills after she gave away my college fund. Top comments, NTA. Your mom made a choice when she gave away your college fund, and now she's dealing with the consequences. You're not obligated to sacrifice your financial security for someone who didn't prioritize you when it mattered. Minus 14k upvotes. NTA. This isn't about being cruel, it's about setting boundaries. Helping her in non-financial ways is more than fair, considering the circumstances. 10k upvotes. ESH. Your mom messed up big time, but holding a grudge forever won't help anyone. If you can afford to help her without ruining yourself financially, maybe consider contributing a smaller amount. 8k upvotes. Update 1 month later. First off, thank you to everyone who commented on my original post. The feedback was overwhelming, and it gave me a lot to think about. Here's what's happened since. After reading your responses, I decided to sit down with my mom for a serious conversation. I told her how much her decision to give away the college fund had hurt me, not just financially, but emotionally. I explained that while I had worked hard to overcome those struggles, the resentment had never fully gone away. My mom broke down crying. She said she'd made the decision out of desperation and guilt because my aunt had convinced her it was the right thing to do. She admitted that she regretted it but hadn't known how to fix things at the time. Hearing her admit that was a huge step for me. For the first time, I felt like she truly understood how her actions had affected me. My family is still divided on the issue. Some think I'm doing enough, while others still believe I should cover the entire cost. Jake, yes, that Jake even reached out to thank me for helping, which felt weird, considering everything. I'm still working through my feelings, but I'm glad I was able to have an honest conversation with my mom. For now, this feels like the best compromise I can make. Thank you, Reddit, for giving me the clarity I needed to handle this situation. It's been a little while since my last update, and I wanted to share where things stand now. First off, thank you again to everyone who weighed in on my situation. Your advice and perspectives helped me find some clarity, even if the road hasn't been easy. After setting boundaries with my mom and contributing $5,000 toward her medical bills, I thought things might calm down. Unfortunately, that hasn't been the case. While my mom was initially grateful for my help, other family members, especially my aunt, have continued to stir the pot. My aunt called me a few weeks ago and outright demanded I do more. She accused me of abandoning my mom in her time of need and even said that my contribution wasn't enough to make up for the past. She brought up the college fund again, twisting it to make it sound like I was holding an unreasonable grudge instead of moving on. I told her that I've done my part and that if she's so concerned, maybe she could contribute more. That didn't go over well. She hung up on me. Here's where things get even stranger. Jake, my cousin who my mom gave the college fund to, reached out to me. To my shock, he apologized. He admitted that he knew taking the money back then wasn't right, but said he'd been desperate and didn't realize how much it would cost me. He told me he's been doing well recently. He started a small business, and while he can't repay the full amount, he offered to send me $2,000 as a gesture of goodwill. I was floored. I never expected Jake to take any accountability for what happened, and while $2,000 isn't much compared to what I lost, it still felt like a step in the right direction. I thanked him and told him I appreciated the gesture. When I mentioned this to my mom, her reaction was complicated. On one hand, she was happy Jake had reached out to me. But on the other hand, she said it felt unnecessary for him to repay me anything because we're family, and family helps each other out. That stung, because it felt like she was brushing aside everything I went through again. Where I stand now, at this point, I've made peace with the fact that I can't please everyone in my family. I've decided to distance myself from my aunt, who continues to push boundaries and guilt-trip me, and focus on rebuilding a healthier relationship with my mom. I've made it clear that I'll continue to help in non-financial ways, like driving her to appointments or assisting with paperwork, but I won't be wiping out my savings or putting myself in a precarious position. As for Jake, his gesture has actually opened the door to better communication between us. We're not close by any means, but I appreciate that he's trying to make amends in his own way. I still have mixed feelings about the entire situation, but I'm learning that setting boundaries doesn't make me a bad person. I can care about my mom and still protect my own well-being. That's a balance I'll continue working on. Thank you again, Reddit, for helping me navigate this difficult time. Your support has meant more than you know.